it's not only about things burning when the centralized thing goes down. It's also about the values we want to have in society, and if we start to centralize services, we are also centralizing some form of power. And when we centralize power to an entity that is profit-driven, that entity will do what profit-driven entities do, and there's no bad thing about it. Well, at least not from a general societal perspective of that entity being profit-driven. But we have to be conscious of that is what they do. It would be naive to assume that they would prioritize something than their own benefit. It's like the basic principle of market economics, right? Rational actors will act rationally. And for them, most of the time, it's not rational to consider like corner cases, to consider the benefit of the general population, simply because that's not where most profit is. So that is a huge problem, especially with the importance the internet has gained in the past 30 years, 40 years. From something researchers use to communicate, something they play with, to basically the backbone of our society. And we simply cannot allow the backbone, the power dynamics of the backbone of our society, to be in the hands of just a few. That's not how things should work, in my opinion. And that is basically where these 13 propositions kind of came from. So it's kind of the combination of the work Doris and I have been doing over the past, well, basically the pandemic time. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I started to get a little bit frustrated with my back then institution's drive to the cloud. And at some point I realized that we can measure that. So I started measuring it, and what I found was that especially universities in the UK and the US and also the Netherlands are really pushing into the clouds, while others are a little bit more hesitant. And that kicked off this whole thinking about centralization. And it was heavily influenced by my co-author Seda Gürses, who is really a lot thinking about the platformization of everything and how these power dynamics impact the world. So that came into that. Then there's my general grievance with IPv6, or rather the lack thereof, which also interacts, right? There's work done by my PhD researcher Manat. So we're working together since 2018, and she looks at how we build systems, how system administrators interact, and she found that system administration is actually focused a lot around care work, and there's a lot of emotional labor involved, but at the same time we have built this relatively toxic community of guys being well, BOFs, bastard operators from hell, and she's actually unraveling this interaction between on the one hand this BOF culture, and on the other hand the actual job demands of executing care work. Like I said in the keynote, you basically know what this care work component is the first time you have to talk to a user that is asking for a backup, because the technical presence of the backup, that's not the main point. Dealing with the user's emotion, which is usually scared, anxious, angry, especially if they feel like it's not their fault that the backup is going, that part is the major work in that situation. So that came in, led to all these reflections on care and the impact of care and the absence of care, and the connection to security. Our internet today, we have so many actors that are just YOLO colo running stuff, which is making the internet a worse place for everyone. I mean, we do have BCP38, we do have the manners group, but yeah, far too many people are not following that path. And especially with spoofing, if one entity doesn't play well, you have a place to spoof, and then you break it for everyone. So that all came together, and then I got hinted to a workshop at ACM SICOM, Turin. So okay, maybe I should try to put all these thoughts on paper, and I hit up Doris because she is working more in the Industry 4.0 process and production area, robotics, who also go through this digitization of processes at the moment. So the perspective on processes not becoming better if you digitize them. There was quite a lot of input from her, and we started to like draft this paper to just, well, get these thoughts out in a somewhat structured way. And as we say in this paper, there's a lot of people who have these thoughts. There's an OpenBSD developer who is blogging also quite avidly, and she wrote about the issue of like how would you rebuild the world after it, well, got burned down, using OpenBSD, which was a subsequent cited inspiration for the corresponding propositions. And we just started collecting what was there, and in the end we ended up with 13, which was basically coincidence.